All right, good evening, folks. I want to talk to you about home dehumidifier. So let me tell you what they are first of all. What they do is they take the moisture out of the air and they either put it in a bucket or they pump it somewhere else. The reason that this is just so important, I have a deal I'm working on, and it ended up that the basement did not have a dehumidifier in it. And what happened was the moisture built up because their basements are obviously sealed. Basement is subterranean, so you're under the ground, right? So if you have a home that something is under the ground, you would need a dehumidifier. And the basement was sealed over the years. Moisture built up, not visible necessarily, but moisture built up behind the walls, between the cavities, and mold took root. And when mold takes root in sheetrock, the sheetrock has to be removed. You can't fix it. You can't treat it. You can't painting over it doesn't get rid of it. The roots are still there. So this home, a fairly modest sized basement, it cost almost $18,000 to remediate the mold situation, and that is not insurable, right? So if there's not a leak, unless you have a mold rider for some reason, it is not an insured item. So I want to talk to you for a few minutes about basement dehumidifiers. I don't want you to have this happen to you. It was news to me how critical they were, even though I have one in my basement. It is a critical piece of equipment in a house if you have a subterranean basement. And the reasons are: one, it prevents mold, which we just talked about. It improves the air quality, which is very, very important, air quality in your home. And then it helps eliminate dust mites because bringing down the humidity does that. Now, how do you know if you need a humidifier? I think the simple rule is if you're subterranean, then you need one. It's pretty straightforward. But things that will give you telltale signs, if it's moist or there are wet stains present on the walls or ceiling, obviously you'll need that. If you had a leak above and it dripped down and it wasn't opened up or treated or dried out, because that's why when you see these recovery companies come into homes, they put huge fans in and dry the house out, there is likelihood that there would be mold above that as well. If windows are covered with condensation, good indicator that it's too moist in the basement. Then the telltale sign, you walk down the stairs, musty, right? You got that musty smell. Or if there's any excess anywhere, sometimes weep and feel wet, those are times when you need these dehumidifiers. So the idea here is, if you need a dehumidifier and you don't have one, what should you get? I will post a link. Home Depot has a pretty good video that tells you how to size it appropriately and how to pick the right one. And it's a based one, but there's different sizes depending on the square footage. So make sure that you buy the appropriate size. That's first and foremost. Second is you want to pick one that's kind of portable if possible, unless you're doing a built-in unit. But portable means it has casters or rollers and you can roll it around pretty easily. That comes in real handy if you need to empty out the water tray. If you look at the energy efficient ratings, they will vary greatly based upon the item, and usually the more expensive, the higher energy efficiency there will be. And they're pretty easy to maintain. So on the top side of them, preferably on the top side of them, if you buy a good one, it will have a filter. The filter can be washed in the sink and then put back in. And then they'll have a tray which holds the water, or a repository for the water. Now, there are some that have a pump that you can have a hose attached to. And one really neat way to do it is you go, well, where am I going to put the hose to? Some basements have little giant pumps that are attached to their air conditioning units. You could pump it there and then pump it out through that. Others, everyone, once you're below grade, and I'm actually below grade now, there is a windows typically that sit up. Now, the windows aren't a good thing. You don't want to stick a hose out of it and have all the ants or rodents and things get in there. But what you can do is you could drill directly through a very small hole, 1/4-inch hole or 1/2-inch hole, right through the windowsill, and have the hose come out that, and then obviously relieve it far outside the window and caulk around it. And that's a great way to get it out. They'll usually pump 9 feet up. So unless you have a really tall window, you'll be able to get that moisture out and out of the house without having to worry about going downstairs and checking on that pan that's holding the water each and every time. Most have automatic shutoffs. So when the humidity level hits below a certain level, you will automatically have the unit shut off and then kick back on once the humidity comes up. And then most important, we all forget when it goes off. And a reason it would go off is if you have a power blip. So make sure that you get one that will turn automatically back on once the power comes on. So please listen to the cautionary story. Don't take it lightly. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars in mold remediation necessary if you don't take care of this. And it's a simple $100 device that saves you thousands upon thousands of dollars. You can't do better than that. So my advice is do that. If you have any questions, post them in the feed. Happy to answer anything. I have tons of professionals I can put you on to that will help you also. And I'm hoping to get someone else on from a mold remediation company to really talk about this. But let's be very clear. Mold is dangerous. Black mold in particular is extraordinarily dangerous, but not only in a respiratory fashion, but there is a whole bunch of other things that goes on in the body, and you can't perform optimally in a home with mold, right? So it's not good for you. It's constantly taxing your system. You want to be safe. I want you to be safe. So heed this warning, get a dehumidifier. Please, please, please do that. And if you need help picking it out, I'll even help you with that as much as I can. So take care, have a good night, and I hope this helped you out.